Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Do I have sound? Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so my name is Eirik Knudsen, and I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Nuart to the annual pub debate. So, as always, as many of you know, this is a forum where we tackle the big questions surrounding the themes that Nuart handle. Of course, fueled by a little alcohol and, of course, a lot of strong arguments. So the thing we're going to debate today is actually a term that we are trying to introduce this year, and that is the term of post-street art. So just to give you a little bit of context, I will read up what we mean by this expression here. So post-street art has been adopted to describe artworks, artists, and events that are informed by and aware of strategies, forms, and themes explored by street art, but which couldn't rightly be regarded as street art or street artists per se. The term could also be used to describe a new breed of studio practice-based street artists whose interest is and knowledge of the contemporary art world often far supplants that of an engagement with the street. So the big question our two teams today will try to handle is whether this post-street art term is a useful term to describe these developments, or whether it's not, basically. So what we will do now, before we introduce the teams, we will have a vote with you in the audience. So then you raise your hand if you agree that post-street art is a useful term to describe these developments that we now see in the scene and is something that we should embrace. So those in favor for, raise your hands now. Okay. Interesting. Thank you. And as all know, the rules are so that the team that managed to turn the most heads during this debate will win. So then it's about time to introduce the two teams. So on this table here, we will have the team that is going to argue in favor of the term post-street art. And the team captain of that team is Evan Pricko, founder and editor-in-chief of Juxtapost magazine. And with him, he has two artists, Jeff Gillette and Robert Montgomery. So give them a big hand.
Sorry, man.
But as always, we have a negative side, and captain of negativity is, of course, Carlo McCormick. So,
oh, man. I'm just trying to help you guys out.
And in addition, we have two other people on his team, so he's not going to debate alone. The first one is Pedro Suarez Neves. So give him a big hand. And we have Christian Omodeo. So please give him a hand as well.
So I guess you guys are on that side. I'll move.
So the format now will be such that each panelist will first get a 1 to 2 minute chance to introduce their stance on this topic without being interrupted by the other ones. And then we will basically start the fight. And after about 15-20 minutes or so, we will also start with audience involvement. So with that, I give the word to Evan Pricko.
Oh, I'm starting this off. Okay. So I understand labels can be uncomfortable. We don't often like to be put into a box of some sort or defined by certain terms. But what we're dealing with here is street art. And street art, as it was first introduced and coined, was part of a free-spirited movement that was without curators, without festivals, without organizers bringing it together. Well, now we're at a point in history where street art has now grown into not only festivals like we are now, museum shows, curators curating programs around street art. We're at a time where the term street art is no longer really true. So it is time to expand. It's not a redactive term. It's an expansive term to sort of explain what it is we're all a part of now. And so on this side, we are going to have art critics and academics who make a career out of defining and putting art into historical context.
The pot calls the kettle. Mr. Editorial.
I'm just saying. So what we're doing is we are going to be arguing against academics and critics who use these terms to explain the historical context of the art that we are all experiencing. On my side, I'm going to have actual artists who...
Not when we're done with them.
Who not only have made art that is part of this festival, but also believe in the expansive term of post-street art. So I think our argument is strong because we do have the support of the artists that are on stage to counter what you guys already do, which is put art into definable language. So I think post-street art is the way to go.
Carlo.
Well, you know,
Thank you.
I just really want to thank Evan because he's such a good guy. He took the wrong side. And he took, you know, he's like, he knows this, what he's arguing is wrong. He knows that labels aren't just inaccurate and reductive, they're lazy. And what they come from our uncertainty and lack of understanding. But what I really wanted to say about that, though, was that he did it because he's so good at this. I mean, he made such a compelling argument. And he took the wrong side just because he might be able to win the wrong side. But he knows he's wrong. That's fundamental. And I want you to keep that in mind as you weigh our arguments. Because when he acts sincere, and he will at some point, I tell you, it's going to sound really sincere. That's when he's really lying. That's when he is so full of shit. So I want you to keep that in mind. We'll get to the arguments later. I just wanted to poison the well.
Okay, Robert.
Is that all you guys have got? Is my mic on? Is that you? That's all you
No,
got?
we'll make our arguments
he's...
later. I just wanted to explain that to people.
Okay, I give my perspective. My perspective is I'm, let's say, a fine artist, academic artist who works in street art festivals because I believe in street art as carrying the flame of revolution in the 21st century. I believe that the Champion art has become a passive tool of Reaganomics, a passive tool of the collector class, and street art is the only politically engaged art form of contemporary art. That's it. The term street art has been used, though, to sort of ghettoize street art and make it sound safe and make it feel safe, right? And make it feel like something you know what it is, it's mural painters, that's it. You know what it is, it's like stencil painters, that's it. You ghettoize it through style, like the Impressionists, and you get to ignore the content, therefore, of that work. The street artists are making the most political work of this time. They're the biggest challenge to capitalism of this time, and they need to be allowed to live in an expanded realm where they're not just all regarded as illustrators on city walls.
So that's why they need the post term.
The term
That's authenticity.
For
right?
the term post-street art to come from us means that we are like refusing to be labeled by a label that's already established and quiet, and we're asking the question of where is the border between street art and academic art? Where is the border between street art festivals and biennales? You know, I have work in a fucking biennale in China tomorrow. I could be there. Woo! You know, I'm the British artist in the Wenchuan Biennale in a museum in China. It's more money. I'm fucking in a museum. I could be there, but I'm at this street art festival because I believe in street art being more important than museum biennales.
It's all really good, but the argument about post-street art.
We have to
validity,
wait
but
for
go
the
ahead.
interruption. So I'll give the word to Pedro.
Thank you. Turn his mic off. It's on. Yeah, it's working. Everyone is hearing. Yeah, it's on there. Yeah. So I hope that you are listening well and you understand my English. because I'm Portuguese and so on. But
Oh, he's playing that card already.
wait.
We were on the same
Like
team
the
in
map.
like 15 minutes
No
ago.
interruptions, please.
That card. The thing is, actually, in my really deep and personal opinion, we all know that labels are unnecessary between each other. You know, we look in the eyes and we talk, and you know, if we talk to you and ask you if what you do it's street art, maybe you hesitate and say, "Oh, I don't know. Well, I do my work." The thing is, labels are necessary mainly for the academics and so on and so forth. And what's relevant here is that there's a quite big difference between the street art and graffiti and the non-commissioned dimension of this kind of work that makes the difference between art, public art, and commissioned art. And this is really relevant. So actually, we really need some other designation, and they occur, like urban art, I don't know, post-street art can be, but I just don't agree with post-street art specifically, because when you see in art history and like history of architectural terms and stuff, post usually it's against the other designation. So when you say post-street art, you are killing street art in somehow.
No.
Okay. So and you are damaging it.
What you're doing is you're defending street art.
Sorry, this is just my opinion. I'm putting some poison there. Poison on the air. Just
Sorry.
okay.
Thank you. So then over to Jeff.
I can say right away that I'm not a street artist. I haven't done any, and I'm just started. I'm like 56, so I just started. So the idea that I'm not a street artist and I'm in with a discussion about street art and post-street art, kind of, to me, that's like, why else would I be here? I'm an easel artist, I'm a studio artist, I'm a gallery artist. Why would I be here if it wasn't part of the discussion and dialogue? Now, I did try a little bit of street art coming back from, I was in the Peace Corps in Nepal for 2 years, went to India a lot, and then I went back home to Detroit, and I tried 2 times doing street art. And I put up some things on these freeway overpass things, and I hated it. I don't like running from the cops. I don't like being afraid. I hate the anxiety. It smells, it takes too long, and you're looking over your shoulder all the time. Fuck that. I can go in my studio and relax, put on some good music, smoke some...
He's pandering.
Yeah.
So if you're a pro-pot, you'd vote for our side. But anyway, and just enjoy myself and not have to worry about any anxiety. And I think the idea of the post-street art is I'm informed by what I'm seeing around me. I love the idea of street art and Banksy and Evil and Exovoid. All that stuff's wonderful. Love it. I just don't have the balls to do it. I'm a pussy, but I think I still belong here. Yes. Yeah?
Yes. And Christian.
Why for me it's not very interesting to create a new term, post-street art. It's because you don't even imagine how much time we need to work on one single term. I'm just think about one point. In the 70s, like the European community decided to organize an exhibition about the neoclassical period. They put together art historians for all European countries to create an exhibition with all artists coming from the neoclassical period, which means more or less the Napoleonic era. After 2 years, they decided to make an exhibition about the Romantic period, which is more or less the same historical period. They put together all the artists, and the Romantic era is normally considered as the post-neoclassical era. And if you compare the list of the artists that were in the 2 exhibitions, there are actually 85% of the artists were in the two exhibitions.
Delacroix, David, etc.
Yeah. So I mean, it's unuseful, but most than it's unuseful. You don't have imagine also how much it costs to society, because if you decide to create a new term, it means that you will pay researchers to stay close in a library for like 10 years. So think also about our lives, because if you decide to use
unless we
post-retard,
destroy the university.
yeah, this is why I'm going out of university in the next years. It means that we will have to stay in the public libraries and tend to travel a lot, to go to conferences everywhere in the world to debate about the importance of the use of street art or of post-street art. So for me, this is not useful to use the post-street art term.
So now we go over for the fight here. So I would just kindly ask you to try not to talk too much in each other's mouths. So I will give the word first to Robert, and then we'll try to leave it flowing without me interrupting.
Can I come in? It doesn't matter what the term is. It doesn't have to be called post-street art, but you need another term for street art now, because street art is a consumerist term made by American collectors to collect mediocre street art, right?
Well,
and also
you're wrong by 15 years, but go for it. You're doing great, man. You're historically ignorant.
Well, when was it made?
The book, 1984, Alan does this book called Street Art. It's got a history. It's like way before this. Whatever your myopia is, but go for it.
I'm talking about the general use of the term, right? When they use street art, they exclude political art, right? So you'd read street art books. It doesn't have Peter Kennard and Cat Phillips' work in it. It wouldn't have my work in it because it's political. But it would have these, like, illustrations on walls, and they encourage new artists then to come into street art and do illustrations on walls with no politics.
Well,
they're trying to ghettoize street art into being an unpolitical art form by using the term street art and publishing glossy books. Listen,
your history's wrong.
I don't care about my my history's my fucking history. Right?
It was written about John Fechner had the term street
art
on it.
My fucking history.
You're late.
but even by acknowledging,
you're way late.
Don't tell me about my fucking history.
But even acknowledging
my fucking history is my fucking history.
Yes, but your version of history is
wrong. Are you fucking doing illegal art on the fucking streets?
Your version of history is wrong,
right
dude. Sorry, I was there.
It's my fucking history. I fucking make it on the street.
But it starts.
It's my fucking history.
The problem with your history is it
can't be
starts
fucking
with you.
wrong if it's mine.
But real history starts before you, buddy.
My story was
I'm trying to
fucking
school
me
you.
on the streets doing illegal art, and I don't need
What
to
a
be schooled by you.
myopia! What a myopia, bro! You could have learned something, but that's all right. Let me try to just break a few things down just for the term post to keep on the subject and maybe defray it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, in my lifetime, which goes on for a little bit, there were two post terms, and both of them were successful but ultimately failed. The first one was 1971. Robert Pincus Witten, Pinky, still alive, bless his soul, came up with post-minimalism.
My God.
And in that, he tried a lot of great artists, like Eva Hess came out of that.
Probably.
Richard Serra, earth art, Bruce Nauman, body art, all these things. In the end, we had things like performance art. The term fell apart. It was useful. It's a sloppy placeholder. The next one actually was something called post-graffiti, 1983. That's what I mean. These things go back a little bit.
You think Jean-Michel Basquiat's a street artist or a painter?
So that was called post-graffiti. What?
Evan.
Well, I mean, I still think like what.
I'm only halfway through the lesson. That's okay.
Well, no, I think your lesson is informative, but still.
Yeah, it's called information. It usually is. It's not opinion.
But you're also talking about terms that are you're talking about 30 to 40 years ago. It's time to you have to
have another post.
One at a time, please.
There's this accidental thing that happened in the midst of all of this. It was called the internet. And there's also this accidental thing that happened called social media. That street art grew with this thing called social media. It became a global phenomenon that expanded way beyond any other art form before it, faster, with more of an audience, more of a global audience, instantaneously. Immediately, as social media grew, it took that term of street art and it canceled it. It turned it into something completely different, which we're now trying to define. Where are we? We're not at that.
One last thing, and then I'll shut up, and I'll be really brief.
Yeah.
But the
great.
other thing that happened in the middle is called postmodernism, right? And that's basically, it's the slippage of meaning, right? It's the failure of modernism. We still try to use post terms because we're still branded by a century and a half of incessant novelty, where every generation has to announce themselves with
Correct.
something.
Yeah,
but
okay.
postmodernism is really about the slippage of meaning. Right? That's actually what it is. So you're trying to, all you can do is describe the condition. You can't actually get to the truth. And as long as you use these forms, you're failing.
But part of me also feels like
language.
the internet created the meaning for whatever meaning you wanted. And I do think that street art grew with a global phenomenon that actually now has rebranded it into something completely different. I understand that you're using... I see the direction you're coming from, but I think you're denying the fact that street art needs a new expansive title.
Pedro.
Well, I agree with Robert and with Evan and with Carlo and with everyone.
It's a shitty debate. Oh my God.
But
Jesus.
But
who let him on my team?
No, but I agree essentially what you said in the beginning. Like, we really need another term, and that's a really relevant base point that we need to depart from. And I think everyone agrees with this, and that's really relevant. And it's not irrelevant, the fact that we need another designation. Now, the designation itself, that's another discussion, you know? I think it's another level of discussion.
I don't want to interrupt you, but part of the reason we need another term is because street art is being excluded from the museums collecting 20th century, 21st century art. By being called street art, it can be excluded from the canon of the museum, right? From the Gombrich art history, because you ghettoize it by calling it just street art, okay?
We can write treaties. We can write treaties about why.
If you have a street art separate from museum art, separate from the contemporary art center art, separate from Kunsthalle art, if you have a political street art out in the streets, you absolve the responsibility for museum art at the Whitney to be political, because you've got some guys in the street doing that for you. So you can do this really apolitical, post-Jeff Koons, fucking nonsense cover fire for Reaganomics, and call that contemporary art.
There are two discussions going on here. One, it's the need for change, and the other, it's the form of the change, okay? And
it's to try to get street art out of the ghetto.
I agree with the change, and I don't agree with the form of the change.
What we have to do is we have to get street art out of the ghetto and get it into the museums. Then we have first of all, we have to get street art out of the ghetto and get it into the fucking art museums like the Whitney and MoMA. And secondly, we have to stop the art in Whitney and MoMA being allowed to be unpolitical and completely bullshit post-Champion drivel.
Okay, Christian.
That's like opposing the system and then asking it to try to find a way into the door.
Yeah, because my fucking system.
So
That's why it's
Christian,
my system. MoMA's my fucking museum. The Whitney's my fucking museum.
So Christian.
That's why.
Okay. Take ownership.
So the point for me is internet now.
So you agree with me a little bit?
A little bit, but for me, what is internet is it's the difference between graffiti and street art. So if internet is something new, or if there is a new internet, I'm okay for speaking about street art. But it doesn't seem to me that internet is a new stuff today. So this is one point. I mean, I'm okay with using internet like something to switch from one point to one other. But I think that the internet has been the point for switching from graffiti stuff or post-graffiti stuff to street art. This is one main point for me. So that's the...
Jeff.
Something that Carlos mentioned was like an evolution of terms. And I would like to go really deep and talk about Hegelian metaphysics.
Yes! Because that's why I came here tonight. I like it.
You start off with something that is, which is a synthesis, and then you're going to have something opposing it, the antithesis. And it's not going to win. It's never going to take over. But there's going to be like a conglomeration of the two parts creating a synthesis. Now, the synthesis at some point is going to be kind of accepted. It's like, okay, this is the way things are. But guess what? There's going to be something else that's going to say, It becomes the synthesis that the antithesis, the next group is going to say, it's not working. It's not working for us. It becomes an evolution. So again, a synthesis comes. And my feeling of proof of that is you never have, just like he talked about postmodernism and postminimalism, you never have a post-post something. You always have something past that. So it kind of finds out what are they rebelling against, and then you find some kind of even ground, but then there's going to be the next group of rebellion. So it just starts another kind of little series of movements.
Can I just propose something, since you seem to think that maybe whatever, or maybe some of you people here suggest we just need another term. Came home very drunk and very low on sleep last night and got to watch.
So it was a day ending in wine.
The spectacle of the Paralympics, which is kind of great, right?
That is like, don't fall.
Come on. In a company that is already crippled and disabled by greed. But Para actually is not.
Now he's standing up. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's a miracle.
Because para is actually not about paraplegic. Para, the root term, is beside or alongside or next to. It means the event next to the Olympics. The problem with these post terms, and that's why I brought up postmodernism, is we're beyond that. We're in a different condition. We're in a different paradigm. We have to drop this linearity. We have to drop this incessant, greedy, pathetic.
I would vote for Power Street Art.
Yep, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I vote for that.
Could you believe it? Now we're already agreeing.
Why
We
don't we
love
all
it.
vote for a third term, Power Street Art? It's better. It is better because postmodernism did fail because it allowed us to abandon modernist ideals. And also we thought we lived in a post-religious world. In '74, when Frederick Jameson published Essays on Postmodernism, we thought it was a post-religious world. It's not. It was a premature post. I agree with that. Okay? Yeah. So maybe Power Street Art is a better term.
All right.
Pedro?
Well, so you are assuming that post-street art is not the correct designation?
No, I'm just saying I don't really care.
Wait,
I don't really care about. Wait a minute. I don't
Wait
care.
a minute.
Jose, let me say something. Wait.
You're arguing on our side
Let me
by
say
saying
something.
that
Let me
now.
say something. I don't care about the term, okay? I don't care about the term. But what
it's the vote.
I don't care about the term. But what I think has to happen is we have to take street art and, let's say, contemporary art with a big C and let the border open, and we have to let them mix. Because we have to make sure that the political content of street art becomes part of the canon of contemporary art. We have to make sure that we don't let contemporary art of the next decade become as apolitical as it has been in the decades of Jeff Koons and Damien Hirst. We have to allow the activism of street art back into museum art, the way it was there in Chris Burden, the way it was there in Guy Debord's time of Situationism. We have to allow politics back into museum art, and we have to fucking break the border between street art and museum art. Okay. Simple as that.
Christian?
No, I'm just thinking that it's not a post-street art, it's a pre-something that you have to create. It's something that is coming before, not post-something.
Yeah, okay,
Time is linear.
So we are always thinking about post. We are always looking.
Why don't we
what
have
has
a new
happened
political?
before?
It's the next wave we can't see yet.
I still think it's weird that we're arguing for a name change and you guys aren't, but you're agreeing with us that a name change needs to happen.
We're just trying to be kind.
I think that you are proposing.
Because that's the way we are. Everyone can see I'm just a nice guy that way.
There are many options already in the market. You have urban art. You have.
One option is we have an.
But what is urban art? It's just like a.
That's a.
I don't know.
That reeks even more of marketing.
That's the laziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Is urban art.
One option is we have an anti-Duchampian riot. We riot through the streets until we destroy Duchamp's reputation and destroy capitalism, throwing toilets through shop windows. That's an option.
Toilet art.
Wow.
It's an anti-Duchampian riot.
Wait, am
we
I
take
on that
all
side?
the
All
toilets
right.
in the city, we get them from the fucking toilet, we bring them out in the street, we throw them in the shop windows.
Is it Duchampian like we have to get
It's
urinals?
anti-Duchampian. You can use potties too.
You know, do we call them the fountain when we throw them?
Windows, then, Rob.
Huh?
What if the toilets are going through museum windows?
That's absolutely fine too.
That's fine.
That's absolutely fine.
What do you think the next ism would be? Or would there be?
I'm
Why
trying to
does he
say
get
we're
the
beyond
question?
that.
Why does he get
So
the
I
ism?
think it was time to
Well,
open
it's
it up
the
a
white
bit, and I got the
paper.
first
No,
one.
but you get the ism question because you're sitting down in your regal chair. If I was sitting down, he would ask me the ism question.
Okay,
Don't
so
be jealous. Don't be
It's
jealous.
actually a sign of humility. When
okay.
someone, you go into someone's
All right.
office and they say, "Do you want to sit down?" and you stand up, you're like you're being aggressive. I'm just
but
trying
back to
be
the
humble.
subject.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Ism.
Sorry. I apologize.
Yes. Sorry.
So-
we got sidetracked about our
Yeah.
mutual animosity.
Sorry, Jeff, you had something.
I want to hear Carlo's ism for what's going on now, if you had to label it.
Okay, so the best we can do is keep a vague track of the present, and predicting the future is even worse. So let's not try to do that. Only fools do that. But it's the truth. It's the truth.
Such a little.
So I think maybe like religion, we have this need to create mythic constructs out of nothing. This is the way we're hardwired. I'd like to point out the deep ignorance and stupidity that goes with these belief systems. But since people seem to need them so desperately, I can't argue with all of humanity. I can only say, you're wrong.
Carlo, you ignorant slut.
Oh, Jesus, man.
So you want to comment on that, Evan?
But the idea here, though, is the artists themselves are going to come up with the term. What is wrong with that? Instead of it coming from outside of the actual procedure and technique.
That's a really good idea. Can we get the artists actually in this festival who are doing pieces to suggest like a name for what they do, their individual practice?
That'd be great.
But I think
Can
we
we do
should do
that?
that
Can we pass that
after
mic?
the debate.
Because
Because
we
now
should do it
we
during
are.
the debate, because it should be a democratic debate. We pass the mic to the artists, and they can say what they think of their term. Yeah, that's what we do. That's how we do it.
I
There
just
we
need
go.
to clear up a few questions. Are
That's how
you,
we
are
do it.
you
It's a good one.
disagreeing on the term or you're
No, we
disagreeing on
want
the
to know
need?
if you're an artist, we
So-
want to know what you call your practice.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're a bunch of
wait,
tossers
that's a-
because you're up
that's a
here
good question.
on a fucking debate about street art.
Yeah, so let me
you're
just-
only academically discussing street art as a form. Do you think street art has changed over the years?
I don't know what street art is.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it
Yes.
has.
We all agree.
100%.
So you do
The way it's distributed, the way it's done,
so we have
the
to
way
divide this
everything.
in two things, right? Do we need a new term for not diluting what used to be street art?
I want to know what the artists making art in this festival call their own work. And I
Right.
want you to
Yeah.
pass
Yeah,
the mic
no,
to
I-
them so they
but
can
we
tell
are not
you.
going
I'm bringing
to
in
discuss that
I'm trying
right
to bring
now.
in a
Because I want the artists to define the term exactly like that. So give them the fucking mic. Find an artist,
no.
give them the fucking mic.
So-
Find an artist, give them the mic. Where's the fucking artist?
So you're stopping me from asking you a question?
Are there any artists in the fucking room?
Is that you
Give an artist
defending
the mic. They
street
can
art as
fucking-
a new term that
they can
people can
define their own
oppose it?
practice.
It's a
Give
street
them
art
the
supposed to
fucking
be
mic.
about
Give the artist the
engagement,
mic.
quality.
Give the artist the mic.
Hey,
Give the artist the mic. Give the artist the mic.
So we need to be quiet a bit now. So now we
You
have done.
can. What do you call your work? Would you call it street art or something else?
Actually, all that question for me, I don't really give a shit.
Good.
No, just because I don't have the background like graffiti writer or like a true guy who came from the history of stuff. And when I'm in my studio and I'm working like patiently on my stuff and like making nice stuff, I make art because I want to make it in the gallery and I want to like sell it for a high price because like that I don't have to do anything after and I can enjoy the
Because having
free
jobs is
project.
fucking
I mean,
shit.
no,
Yeah.
but enjoy the free project when they give you, they say you okay, we don't have money, but but it seems funny, so I want to go there. So if I can earn money on the side to go there, I will do it. So when I'm in my studio, I'm making art.
I think art's
When
the
I'm
term.
in the street, I'm making street art because I'm in the street and like I arrive, I'm dropped there and okay, I watch the wall and I have my little characters and okay, there is a hole there and I have a guy falling. Okay, I can and I compose something on the moment and sometimes it's deeper. There is a deep meaning and something genius arrive, but sometimes not and so.
Sometimes not.
Hello. Fuck.
Introduce
So
yourself.
glad I don't
before
have
you-
to spend a extended period on stage discussing this, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be condescending, but I think the argument in general is stupid. I think it's a lot of fun.
I agree.
We didn't pretend it was anything but stupid.
For me, I mean, I don't like you asked me to explain what like my work or what I'd call it, and I don't really know. I just kind of make what I feel and I do it. And I think that's kind of the point. I mean, for me, graffiti or street art, once again, I've got to fucking call it something. But for me, it's kind of just been an alternative route outside of the arts establishment. And that's what's been most important for me. It's given me, somewhere different to create my work. And as soon as we start trying to label something, then you're kind of adhering to the arts establishment in some way. So that's why I kind of like to keep it kind of...
That's it!
Annen, could you
I want to
reply?
keep it...
I
I want to keep it
I have-
anarchistic in some way and just let it be its own entity.
I have a
you know,
tiny just question especially for the artist. Again, we're going back to the label thing. Kurt Cobain didn't want to be known as a grunge rock star when he was alive, but he was. And when it was over, he was the pinnacle of grunge. But in the moment, he was uncomfortable with the title. When Miles Davis was doing his experimental jazz music, he didn't want to be known as an experimental jazz musician, but he was. So I think sometimes, as artists and as people who write about it, we in the moment, it's a little uncomfortable to give it a title, but in the end, Kurt Cobain was a grunge artist, and Miles Davis was a jazz artist, and these titles.
Was fusion.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, but like, there's these. But
I think hard bop is.
He thought he was fusion.
sure,
pretty,
he thought he was many
accurate
things,
one.
but in the end, he was the pinnacle of American jazz music. So, I think what was that?
I said he was a fucking asshole.
Of course. Who gives a shit? I mean,
and a really bad artist. You got to see his paintings; they're great.
So that was diversion, but whatever. I just saying, like, it's so difficult when we're on the spot, when you're here and you're talking about it. Like, you're never gonna quite say, like, I'm a grunge artist. Like, you're never gonna say that. But at the same time, these categorizing is not a bad thing. It's not all of a sudden just like that's all you're ever gonna be. It's just like there is a historical precedent of labeling things, and I feel like we're sitting here talking about like so bad, but the most famous people that we all follow into categories, and we're not that upset about it
Jeff,
later on. So
let's take
As an
Jeff,
artist,
okay.
shut up, Carlo. But as an artist,
you too, bro.
as an artist, I feel liberated that I'm part of something bigger than just me on my own
It's
in my
like
studio
religion. He
and
needs to
putting
belong.
stuff.
Try Scientology next time.
Go on, Jeff.
I'm gonna try Buddhism where you don't exist. But anyway. But the idea of that I'm part of something bigger than myself, post street art, I think that's, to me, it's great. It's an addition, and there's a lot of people that I think are in the same place as me. We're part of some evolution that has a name for a big group of people. That's a positive. I don't find it constraining at all, because like I guess the definition of post street art is informed and influenced by what's going on out there in the street that some of us are too pussy to do that, but I think it's wonderful. I feel no problem being labeled that.
We have another comment from the audience, and then...
But by the way, we just talked about Buddhism, but amen. That was really nice. That was really great.
Couldn't we call this era just an extension of postmodernism itself?
No, postmodernism is a failed term. I think we should go back to calling it vandalism. Why don't we just call it vandalism?
Well,
Why don't we just call it art? If someone
in a way,
suggests
in a
it?
way,
much more fucking useful term than street
but in a way,
art.
street
No,
art
just
has
vandalism.
gone from vandalism to an accepted term. Banksy is known. Everybody knows who Banksy is. We've made documentaries about him. He's had exhibitions.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
we
a
don't
good-
know
because
who
he's a
he
good
is.
artist.
We don't know who
Because
he
he's a
is,
good
but
artist.
still, street art is something that is accepted.
Right.
And it is still
it should
something
be
that goes
accepted. Why
against-
do you not want it to be accepted? My whole argument is this. My whole argument is that I think Banksy's work is as important as Picasso's Guernica. And I think when we look back on art of the 2000s, we should be looking at Banksy as the Picasso, not, fucking Damien Hirst's third decade or some really bad very self-referential, struggling, low IQ, dragging poster champions who've been through MFA programs.
Right on, man.
You know, and I think that's it.
I agree with that description
And I say that as someone who's been through the fucking Whitney program for poor people. And I think that's it, you know.
I want to bring it back again to the post-street art term that we are actually debating, because this doesn't look as the Brexit decision. It's a yes or no answer, and we debate everything else. But
well,
Pedro.
Again, I think it's really relevant to have a designation, and the right place to coin this designation, it's here in this festival. Okay, if some designation will occur, it will be in this festival. And this is relevant. The thing is, if it's post-street art or other designation like urban art or other stuff...
I'm all up for vandalism now.
Vandalism or...
Well, then you're leaving Jeff out of it.
That will be...
See, look at that. See, you belong.
Pedro is
talking. Your movement are stabbing you in the back.
That's another issue. I think there are two layers of issues here. And the first one, it's too relevant to be discussed and deeply discussed before the other one. So the labeling itself, the post-street art designation itself, it's another discussion. I think the discussion that's really relevant is the fact if we really need another designation. And I agree that we need another designation, mainly because of the commissioned factor, from my perspective. You know, everything that's commissioned or for market, it's different from what's spontaneous, informal, done in the street without knowing it.
So what would you call that? If you're designated...
Usually that's called street art and graffiti when it's lateral based.
Though. It's not in the street if it's in a gallery or museum.
That's the problem. We need another designation for
post-street art.
We need more
urban art.
So we're starting to go against the end there. So I want to challenge the against the form or the term street art to wrap up your discussion now and argue for why is post-street art here a useful term. Evan, I'll let you start.
Oh, for the pro.
What you're actually in favor of here.
I mean, I think what we've pretty much explained that we feel as if post-street art is a really interesting term accurate term to accommodate the evolution of the movement that we all kind of got excited about in the first place. And the reason why we're here. And I feel like the reason why we're here and the organization by which we're here kind of makes it not all about the term street art. It's evolved, and it's now time to give it a new definition. And post-street art is something that we feel is an inclusive term to fit the entire movement as it now exists.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience back here. Would you like to just give him
to give your closing statement?
I'm not sure.
This has to be about the term post-street art.
Yeah, I think we're talking about post-anthropocentric, so post-people. So I'm going to throw in the word anthropocene. So actually, we're dealing with some really heavy terms here. And you got to get the people out of there. You got to get the bodies out of there. You got to get Hegel out of there. You got to get into multiplicities, because you're dealing with a tidal wave of immigration now, refugees, global warming. And this is where I think street art or any kind of art is the issue. So it's not about post. It's about pro-survival, right? So then you're into the Anthropocene.
Okay, thank you for a comment. So we had one closing argument from Evan. Christian, you want to sum up some of your side's arguments against it?
Not the last one, then. Okay, from one side, I think that I share the feeling of Ivan when he said that we need a new term, a new label, because I feel that internet has changed in the last 15 years. I mean, 15 years ago, internet was quite an empty space, a free space. You can do, you used to do what you want to do. We will, like a generation, we have to put things into internet. Today,
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
Street artisan.
no new suggestions now.
No, I don't. No, me.
Censorship.
No, I
That's
don't
no
want.
suggestions, heckling. It's good.
For me.
Now we will summarize.
I mean, I don't want new label. We can call it art. Also, I don't want. I'm against label.
Jeff, you want to give some closing arguments?
I want to give a statement. I want to read in response to an allusion to 70s and 80s theory
Robert, just
that
to
you
know
made
this,
very well.
This is your closing argument.
My
right?
closing statement is a piece by Jenny Holzer, which was shown in a show called the Times Square Show in 1980 in New York. It was a show where artists who went on to be conceptual artists, let's say, and graffiti artists were in one show together with no separation between street art and museum art. I want to get back to that situation where there's no separation between street art and museum art. And Jenny in that show says this. She says, "Many dogs run wild in the city. Some are abandoned by their owners, and other dogs are born to lost dogs. Strays have a limited life expectancy even when they band together in packs. They are prey to disease, parasites, weather, and automobiles. They tend to be frightened and vicious. They are unable to protect themselves or anyone else." Jenny Holzer.
Very good.
Thank you. Pedro, your closing
Well,
arguments.
the post has some fragilities as a designation, because when we say post something, we don't really know what it means post. Okay. So my problem is not with street art designation. Of course, it's with the post. Okay. So the post-modernism was against modernism. So, I don't want to make anything against anything, and then I don't want to be looking back. So what it means post, does it mean commissioned? That's my question, and that's my doubt,
Okay. Jeff, closing arguments.
Okay, the concept, son, hello?
Yeah, you're doing good.
All right, to me, the concept of post-street art is the idea, you're talking about commission, that means money, but I'm thinking here in Stavanger, it's first time, I'm 56, and it's the first time I've tagged. I'm a tagger now. Yeah. Like I say, I tried a little bit in Detroit, and I do stuff in India, but
I'll
I mean,
show you how
here,
to make a bomb next.
Yes, I am.
Is it true there's no police in Detroit?
Because I do both. And my feeling with
Mean ones.
these people that are doing the street art is it disappears. So to me, the documentation becomes a photograph. So they become photographers more than anything. Cyber. Yeah, you get the internet and photography. Right. To me, that's part of. That's post-street art because it exists.
Keep on coming.
Okay.
But what I would like to say is this kind of movement, I attribute Martin from 16 years ago starting this idea, the idea of going to a city, and I went and tagged today, thank you, and not having to look over my shoulder and having a city open for street art or post-street art, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's Martin kind of spearheaded this, and I think it's something that should happen everywhere. I'd love it to happen in California.
Okay, then we have one last closing argument. And Carlo, before you start, I just want to make a short request. Could you keep it short?
We'll do our best.
So, please.
Brevity. Well, first,
All right, that's long enough, Carlos.
I got to thank you for quoting Jenny. I was at the Times Square show, and a lot of great things were born out of that. And no one there was looking for a title of a movement. I promise you. But what I've heard tonight is a lot of people talking about this need for this term. I would like to address the need. Because we've heard everyone in very personal ways talk about why they need it. Some people want it as the kind of banner by which to raise a new revolution. Very fine, very fine. Other people talk about it as a need for community and strength in numbers and having this movement. And then we have other people talking about it as a useful term by which we can communicate with each other. What we're talking about is need. We're not talking about actual truth or reality. Art is messy, chaotic, anarchic, self-contradictory. It is all these things. So every time we try to call it one thing or another, we are doing a great disservice to its complexity and its diversity. And so I think all terms fail. It's not, I don't dislike this one any more than any others. It's not personal. The only thing personal is I don't like Evan.
So, that was the final. So we will leave that to be the final words of this debate, which, as all of you saw, turned out, especially how these debates actually turn out every year. A bit of a mess, but it was really fun. So, but there's one last thing that we have to do, and that is, of course, to take the final vote. So, the people in the audience in favor of the post-street art term, that means in favor of these guys, raise your hands now. There are some cheating here, but
We'll talk about labels with all of you later.
I think actually.
If you don't put your hands up, you're pro-Trump.
I think actually we have our first draw, because this was pretty close and we shouldn't really make the final. So it's a draw, and we let the rest of the festival hopefully make up their mind. And thank you for the panelists and for the audience.